Hello everyone, Tom Simmons coming to you from my Nordic hot tub in our backyard with another installment of our marketing class. In 2017 we were looking for houses and we drove real estate agents crazy because we looked at over 30 of them. We had an entire list of features that we needed in our house, from the style and the size to the amount of land, water features, and one of the things I required was a hot tub. Because on a cold winter's night, whether it's snowing or whether it's just bright and all the stars are out, there's nothing more that I love more than sitting out in our hot tub. Usually in far less conservative fashion than I'm doing right now. When we purchased this house, it did not have a hot tub. And that meant we had to negotiate for a price that would enable us to purchase one after the entire house deal had gone through. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to ask you to join me in the house, and we're going to talk about price and price management and pricing concepts when it comes to marketing your product and the complications that are involved when dealing with the public. So come on and follow me. Let's go inside and we'll talk more about price. And we're going to come back to this notion of this hot tub at the end of the lesson. Thanks. So now that we're inside, let's talk a little bit about price and price competition. In a sanitized textbook environment, there's two types of competition for marketers to engage in. One is price competition and one is non-price competition. Price competition is based on the idea that the public does not see your product as being much different than all of the other competitor products out there. Therefore, competing on price is key. If all the other products are the same and yours is priced a little lower and is a better deal, then that's price competition. Non-price competition means you're competing based on different attributes of your product. It's got a higher quality, it'll last longer, it's got more usefulness, anything that will make the consumer say, this is a better quality product and I'm going to purchase this one. And in that case, you can actually be charging a slightly higher price because you're not in price competition. In reality, both of these things are happening at the same time. Price is always going to be pretty predominant in the consumer's mind, but they'll also factor that in to the notion of the additional qualities and value that your particular product brings to the table. So, when you're setting price for your product, and remember, this is one of the 4 P's of the marketing mix, so this is an important aspect of the information you're conveying to the consumer and the branding image that you are trying to create. You may have a number of different objectives in mind, and it's very possible that within your company, if it's a larger company, different departments are going to have different priorities in terms of the price that you set. For instance, someone in the company may be interested in pricing it in such a fashion that you make a profit. Someone else is more concerned with bringing in revenue and increasing cash flow. And you may stop and say, well, what's the difference between these two things? It sounds like all the same. Well, not really. It may be that you took out a loan in order to produce your product, to get the raw materials or the manufacturing done. And maybe you've got 3 years to pay it off. What you're really looking for now is cash flow, getting revenue into the company. In which case, you might price this new product lower than what it actually cost you to make it. But in the short term, you're okay with that because you have different goals and objectives in mind. And right now your company needs cash coming in, and you can worry about paying the costs of production later on down the road. Someone else may be interested in return on investment. Maybe you had investors who actually put money into your company, and they're expecting a certain amount back on a quarterly or monthly basis, starting right from the start. So in that case, your return on investment might be one of your objectives with deciding your price. It may be that your marketing team is looking at market penetration as the key issue with price. You have a new product, there's other competitors out there, and you need to get this product out at a price that's so wow that you're able to develop a market share and compete and get into that market. And then for someone else, the objective might be to convey the concept that this is the best product. We want to put this out on the market, and consumers will say, wow, this is the latest, the greatest, the bestest, in which case your price might be quite a bit higher than existing alternatives. The key here is that this company that you work for, you need to have a very clear objective. What is the pricing objective? And then you can begin to move on from there. If you're not clear on what your objective is, then you're really just shooting in the dark. So, let's look now at consumers. We're going to spend a lot of time on the nexus between microeconomics and marketing here. Let's look at how consumers respond to price fluctuations in the marketplace. The basic relationship between consumers and what they purchase and price is called the law of demand. It's a basic economic concept. And in a nutshell, what this says is that for any given product, the higher the price is, the fewer amount of that good consumers will purchase. The inverse is also true. The lower the price is, the more of that good they will purchase. You see this in a supermarket all the time. If the supermarket has a large stock of cereal or something that's going to be out of date soon, what do? They put it on sale because they know as a general rule, as the price drops, consumers will purchase more. Now, that holds true for a certain period of time in a certain place, but there are other factors that are impacting consumers' desires to purchase goods at every given price level. And the price may not change of a good at all, but their behavior still changes. Well, why is that? Well, sometimes they no longer need the product. If you no longer have a baby and they're potty trained, you no longer need diapers. It might be that their income has changed. And as we've seen during recessions, during the loss of jobs during the COVID pandemic, as people have less money to spend, they're choosing which items they're going to continue buying and which they're going to stop buying for a while. There's also the possibility of new substitutes coming into the market. Perhaps consumers are used to buying a particular brand or a particular item. Someone else comes up with a substitute, something that works just as good. There's also the possibility that there's a price change or an unavailability of a complementary product. A complementary product is something you normally buy with a particular good. So for many people, peanut butter and jelly are complementary products. If there's no more jelly on the shelf for whatever reason, they may not buy the peanut butter because they can't get the jelly too. And there's many, many products that are complementary to each other. So consumers purchasing your product may be affected by another product that you have absolutely no control over whatsoever. It may also be that there are sociocultural changes, and we've mentioned this before, that certain products are simply seen as not socially acceptable, or they're identified with a particular political movement or something. Consumers back away. And then, of course, it may simply be that the market is saturated. Everyone in a particular market has purchased a particular good. This happened with TV sets in the 1950s, after everyone bought a TV set. It happened with wall phones or dial-up phones. Yes, we had those before we had cell phones. Once every house had one, there was no real reason to go out and get more. The market had been saturated with this particular product. So yes, we have this general concept that there's this relationship between the price of a good and how many consumers will buy. However, there are all these other factors that are also impacting it, and you may think you found the perfect price and things are going well, and then all of a sudden no one's buying the product anymore, or people are buying lots of it. And that could be because of some of these other changes that are taking place. Once again, this is where environmental scanning becomes critical to your marketing operation. Now, that's a basic, very basic overview of the law of demand and how it applies to consumers. Let's go deeper. If we take this deeper, we have to examine the concept of elasticity, specifically price elasticity of demand. Complicated economics topic, and you can get lost in graphs and lines and formulas and all sorts of things. So let me just give you a basic overview in words as to what this concept of elasticity is. We know consumers respond to price changes. That's basic demand. However, elasticity is a way of measuring how sensitive are they to those changes in prices. So for example, an item that is considered very elastic is one where the slightest change in price results in a wildly different amount of that good being purchased by consumers. And you may not think of anything off the top of your head where a change in a couple pennies could change your habits so drastically. Let me give you a commercial example. Kellogg's buys millions and millions of bushels of corn every year from farms in order to make cornflakes. When you get your box of cornflakes and you put it into your cereal bowl, you don't really know, well, oh, this flake came from Joe's farm in Illinois. And, oh, look at that. That flake came from Jane's farm in Iowa. You don't know. As a general rule, you don't care. You're putting cornflakes in your bowl. Kellogg's cares. Because if Kellogg is buying millions of bushels of corn, and one farm group is selling those bushels for $5 a bushel, and someone else is selling them for $4.99 a bushel, you can bet that Kellogg's is going to buy 1 million bushels from the place selling it a penny cheaper. So a tiny change in price, even a fractional change in price, could result in millions of dollars of sales gained or lost. Now that's an example of a highly elastic good. And actually, we see that farm goods, produce, in the supermarket, even for you and I, for the general consumer, is very elastic. If there's a whole set of white potatoes, a whole variety for you to choose from, people generally buy a lot more of the one bag of potatoes that's 10 cents less than the one right next to it. So for most farm products, consumers are very, very sensitive to changes in price. Now, why is this important? With elastic goods, a slight increase in price will result in a drastic decrease in the amount purchased. And the revenue coming into the firm will also decrease. Yes, you've raised the price. It didn't result, maybe you're having struggles in your company and you're thinking, well, let's raise the price a little bit, that'll bring more money in. No, with an elastic good, you will lose so many sales from that small change in price that you'll actually be bringing in less money into the firm. The reverse is also true. If you lower the price a little bit, the quantity purchased by consumers will increase greatly. And someone in your firm may say, we're kind of struggling with cash flow. We can't lower the price. Well, if it's an elastic good, you can lower the price, and you should lower the price if your objective is cash flow. Because as you lower the price, you get so many more sales that you're bringing far more dollars into the firm. That's an elastic good, and it's one extreme. Now let's look at the other extreme. The other extreme is called an inelastic good, or not elastic. And in an inelastic good, a change in price does not significantly affect the amount of the good the consumer purchases. So a good way to remember this and to think of this is insulin is inelastic. You go to the pharmacy, you go to pick up your insulin, and it's increased in price 50%. You're not going to say, well, give me half a bottle instead of a full bottle. You're going to complain, you're going to be annoyed, you're going to be upset, you're going to worry, and you're going to purchase the same amount you normally would have purchased at the higher price. It's very price inelastic. You need it, so you're going to buy it. Same thing if they had a sale on insulin. If the price dropped somehow, you'd go to pick up your insulin. You probably wouldn't call your doctor and say, "Hey, can you triple my prescription here?" So a change in price is not having that serious effect on the amount being purchased. Another good that we all experience an inelastic reaction to is gasoline. If gasoline prices increase 20, 30, 40%, most surveys have shown, and most data has shown, that consumers do not drop their gasoline purchases by 20 or 30 or 40%. They may drop a little bit, but it's a 20 or 30% increase in price, and consumers are only buying maybe 5% less gas than they did. So that's an example of an inelastic good. With these goods, price goes up, you only lose a few sales, you increase revenue greatly. There's always an upward pressure on price then. You drop the price, your sales go up a little bit, not much, so that the total revenue coming into your firm actually drops. This is why it's critical to know whether your good is elastic or inelastic. And the only way to do that is to look at comparable goods, similar goods, within a similar marketplace, within a similar target market. Now that's all price elasticity of demand. Consumer, my reaction to a change in the price of your product. Now let's add in a third player, a third party. And this is where we talk about cross-price elasticity of demand. And let's go back to the gasoline example. As I said, when gas prices change a lot, people don't change the amount they buy that much. They're buying almost the same amount as they used to. However, they may not buy it from the same place they usually did. So every semester for years, I had my economics students do a study of gasoline prices in Greenfield, Massachusetts. And what they did was they looked at intersections where there were multiple gas stations on one corner. And when one of the stations would raise their gasoline prices to 2 or 3 cents over the price of the station across the street, they took data on the number of gallons that were sold at each station. And when a station increased its gasoline prices by 2 to 3 cents, customers still bought the same amount of gasoline, but they bought it from the station across the street to the tune of 20,000 gallons a week. So gasoline is a great example because it's price inelastic. The price goes up, you continue to buy it. But it's cross-price elastic. Cross-price meaning, and think of it this way, what's the price across the street? If there's no brand loyalty, I'm going across the street because I'll fill up my tank for a lower price. And this is one reason why many gas stations have sought to have some type of add-on service to increase brand loyalty. So some gas stations will have, you buy so many gallons, you get 5 cents or 10 cents off. They may have a coffee club. They may have a great selection of breakfast foods that the other station doesn't have. And this is an attempt to make sure that when their gasoline prices do increase 2 or 3 cents over the competition, there's still a reason for you to come to their gas station or their convenience store in order to try and build some of that brand loyalty, because they know there's a high cross-price elasticity. So that is a real quick overview of demand and then elasticity. And now we're going to put one more layer on top of this, and that is the theory of utility. Utility is an economic theory that is both complementary to and a little different from the idea of price competition. Think of utility as happiness, as satisfaction. And the concept of utility is that consumers will buy goods and services to the extent it keeps giving them additional happiness over other products they might be able to buy. And the problem behind this for marketing professionals is the concept of what we call diminishing marginal utility. Long fancy phrase, diminishing marginal utility, which simply means that the more of something you have, the less happiness, the less satisfaction you get from getting one more unit of that good. In other words, the value of each particular good gets less the more you have of it. We had chicken 25 times this month. Yeah, I see chicken's on sale, but I'm not interested because I want something different. That's diminishing marginal utility. And the price is unable to convince that consumer to purchase that particular product. Even though we said when price decreases, the quantity demanded increases. But we've got to put on this layer of utility. It may be because, again, we've had too much of it. We've done enough of this. I bought 3 baseball tickets and went to 3 different games in the last 2 weeks. Even though there's a great price for another ticket, it's like, I don't feel like driving into Boston or New York again to see a game again. I just saw 3 of them. Could be, let's go back to gasoline, you just filled your tank. You're driving down the road, you see a place that it's half the price you just paid, but your tank is full. You have nothing to gain from stopping at this gas station, so you don't. It could be we're dealing with perishable goods. There's only so many loaves of bread. Maybe there's a great deal in the store, but there's only so many loaves of bread I can either eat or shove into my freezer. After that, it's only going to go bad because I'm not going to be able to eat it in time. It may just be something that the person has bought over and over and over, and then they don't need any more of it. They're not happy with any more of it. So one of the techniques that marketers will use when dealing with diminishing marginal utility, diminishing satisfaction for their particular good, is to do something that we call capturing consumer surplus, which is a way to deeply discount the price. It's almost always deeply discounted. You're almost begging people to pick up this particular good. But then also having other tricks of the trade to bring revenue in on. So maybe you belong to one of those big box food clubs. Low prices, that's great. But they also get you with a membership fee every year. It may be you've got a great ticket, you can afford it to, let's go back to the sports stadium game. Yes, we got great prices for the tickets. We're also getting socked with a $25 parking fee, and you know how much you're going to spend on the concessions that are on sale there. It may be you can get an inkjet printer really, really inexpensively. Wow, great deal. Might as well pick one up. They're making the money on the ink that you need to purchase every single month. That's where the money is being made. That's where the profit's being made. We started this video out in the hot tub, right? I got a great deal on that hot tub. I'm very happy with it. But it just doesn't exist in a vacuum. We need to monitor the water. We need to add chlorine. We need to add hardener or raise or lower the alkalinity or the acidity. We have to do that. Now, if the company that I purchased the hot tub from had a plan for purchasing the chemicals from them, and I don't know if they did, this was probably not good marketing on their part, then that would be a revenue stream, a constant revenue stream. Instead, we found a place locally that sells it, and my demand for that good is pretty inelastic. We have to have it. You don't want to get in a cloudy hot tub, right? So you got to have your chlorine. You got to have your sanitizer. So that's another way to encourage that revenue stream to continue by having a companion product. That's what Kodak did, which we looked at a few lessons ago. Their cameras were relatively accessible to the general public. That's not where they made their money. Where did they make their money? They made their money on the film and the processing of the film. And when there was no longer a need for film and processing, when the digital revolution hit, that killed their revenue stream. And there's also the possibility of charging people one price for admission, let's say to a theme park or to a cruise ship, with the idea that this is going to make your life so much easier. So we'll charge you one upfront price, go into the theme park, ride as many rides as you want all day. In actuality, if you look at the data, if people had to pay for each ride that they went on individually, they actually would stop riding earlier, and they'd actually pay less than they do for the one size ticket that gives you entrance to the park. Same thing goes for a cruise ship. If you had to buy each meal separately or buy each drink separately, you'd stop long before you spent all that money that you're spending in the one price ticket. But marketers know this, and they market it as a convenience. Doesn't this make it easy? You pay once, and you're in the park. So there's many different ways that we can, many different techniques we can use to make up for this problem of diminishing marginal utility, of less and less happiness with each additional unit that we purchase. We also need to be aware of the elasticity of our good. Is it elastic or inelastic? If we change the price, what's going to be the effect on our revenue? Are there competitors in the field? Which means that even if we have an inelastic good, maybe it's cross-price elastic and they'll stop buying from us and they'll go to someone else. Obviously, that's going to hurt our revenue. And let's go right back to the beginning here. What's the purpose of the price? Is it profit? Is it cash flow? Is it to establish the idea in the public's mind that this is a really high quality, expensive good? Or that this is a really inexpensive, affordable, easy way to go? That's my go-to place. So this is a very complicated process. There is no magic formula. It's only wise, informed decisions made on as much available data as you can gather, with constant environmental scanning, in order to make sure that your price is at the right place. This has been Tom Simmons, and I've enjoyed talking about prices with you. Back to the hot tub.